Okay, Nia Song, is that you? Nia Song, is that you?
I don't see him.
We're counting down.
I'll start.
Okay, we are live. Go ahead, Sister Sylvia.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, and good night to wherever you are in the world today. It's always such a great pleasure coming into your living rooms every Sunday. I actually look forward to this. For those of you who are not feeling well, we pray that you'll get a quick recovery, and by God's grace and His mercy upon your life or your health, that you may recover and be able to join us, once in a while on Sundays. Our program, Africa Online, is a program that talks about every and anything that we come across the board that people want us to put light on. And we allow you also to call in via video, via phone, whichever way you can come into our Zoom living room, so that we deliberate, we discuss, and we talk, and we educate each other on a lot of things here in life. Right now, the actual host, Mr. Nia Song, is running a little bit late, but as soon as he comes on, you will hear me do this to my mouth, and he will take over. Nonetheless, I just wanted to thank you all for tuning in, like I was saying early on. And we're going to have quite a large stream of people calling in today. Right now, seeing we have our beautiful sister calling in from Sierra Leone. Her name is Evelyn Mafeni. And we also, I see Prophetess and Ambassador Lisa Potts calling in from Philadelphia. Then I also see Patience Fofu as well. I think she is getting herself ready to come on. And of course, we have our illustrious and beautiful chairperson, chair lady, Reverend Pam. Reverend, now I was corrected before to say don't call a woman.
Oh my God, she's trying to call me a man. Did you all hear?
No, I didn't say that. So anyway, my apologies. Our chairperson or chairwoman, Reverend Pam Fomunung, is also online. And of course, yours truly, Sylvia Litana Robertson, is co-host and anchor for this program, as well as the president for Africa Online Media Corporation. So welcome everybody, and today we have a special guest that we have been announcing on the forum for those of you on the forum, and if you're not on the forum, I would love to just let you know that we have our illustrious, indestructible former ambassador to the African Union, Her Excellency Dr. Arikana Chihombori Quao, who is also the founder and president of the new organization called ADDI, otherwise known as the African Diaspora Development Institute, which is based out of Washington, D.C., and this is where everything African happens. She will be coming on within 15 minutes, and as soon as she comes on, of course, we will revert to her. Right now, still looking up to see if my host is online yet, and unfortunately not, so I guess I'll continue. Reverend Pam, do you see my host online yet?
Well, I don't see him. I guess he's trying to get over the fact that you called me a man, I think
wait. How come you're getting on me on that? When he called me Stella every day, it was okay.
No, we finally have a Stella, but anyway, thank you, Sister Sylvia. On behalf of Africa Online Media Corporation, I want to especially welcome everybody. Ambassador Lisa, you are very welcome. I know this is your first time on the show, and I pray and we hope that it will not be your last time. We are here every Sunday, from 4 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We've been doing this for 4 years. We are saying all this. Okay, our main host is on now, Mr. Asonglefac Nkemleke, a journalistic icon. Nia Song, take it away.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry I'm not always late, but technology deceives me sometimes. Man created technology, but technology deceives man. All the same, we're here and we're happy to be here, and extra happy because the family is one more in one piece. Thank you all very much. And Africa Online Media Corporation, our topic today is going to start instantaneously. It is going to be, of course, the demise of the CFA franc, the birth of the ECO, I don't know whether it's ECO or ECO, and of course, its implementation for the African free trade area, and more about COVID-19. What has all this got to do with Africa? It has everything to do with Africa. So I'm actually working from my phone. So if you see me dangling from left to right, don't think I will fall off. No, I will hang on the cliff. Thank you and welcome. Today, June 14, is the 166th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar. We have exactly 200 days left before 2020 goes away. On this day, way back in 1775, and talking specifically about the United States of America, many things happened, but particularly on this day, the American Continental Army was formed by the Second Continental Congress. It was that moment when they had started fighting the British, and they thought they would be able to succeed in creating what they had called the United States of America. That was on the 4th of July, 1776. On June 19, 1865, almost a century later, Major General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas, and announced the end of both the Civil War and slavery. June 19 thus commemorates the end of slavery in the United States as contained in the Emancipation Proclamation signed into law by President Abraham Lincoln. He had signed it on the 1st of January, 1865. Still in history, June 14, 1928, is the birthday of theoretician and tactician in guerrilla warfare, Che Guevara, Argentinian Cuban. He loved all what he did, and he died for what he did. So love him or hate him, he remains a symbol on history's wall. This day is also known as Flag Day in the United States, when the Continental Congress again approved the Stars and Stripes as the first national flag of these United States. Today, that flag is called the Star-Spangled Banner. Okay, enough of history now. Why not go down to settling or sorting your own apples? Economics teaches us that a currency is a noun meaning, quote, a system of money in general, or rather in general use in a particular country. And we may add, or in a group of countries. Yes, a currency is used in more than one country, or can be used in more than one country. So, such a currency is legal tender in such a country or group of countries and becomes generally accepted in exchange for goods and services. Today, we are talking the demise of one currency and the birth of another one, which will soon hit the marketplace. The French created and supported franc CFA or CFA franc, whichever way you want to call it, was in use since the 1950s in most former French colonies and mandates. Not all the countries France inherited were colonies. Cameroon, for example, was a United Nations mandated territory, but they converted it into a full-fledged colony, and of course, did what they did to other areas they bought over or took over with a bottle of whiskey or some gunpowder. Wikipedia, that free encyclopedia, sees the echo, that is the money that is coming into some West African countries, as the name for a common currency that the West African Economic Community or the West African Monetary Zone intends to introduce sooner rather than later. And it is in that perspective that we are having this conversation today. It will be one small step in the search for that giant leap that should see Africa come up with a common currency. As our topic said during the week, rain waters the earth and vegetation grows. Yeast makes dough to rise for us to transform flour into bread and other pastries. And honest, sincere prayers produce miracles. Believe, and it will happen. To that, and still in keeping with our topic, money, yes, our topic, good currency and legal tender stimulates economic activity, encourages growth, and promotes business above and beyond frontiers. For some time now, talk about the need for a common currency for the African continent has gained ground, but never really stood up. Thoughts by former Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi were torpedoed by a gullible Western interest that never wants to see Africa rise. But every sleeping thing eventually wakes, and most thunderstorms produce rainbows, signs of hope, and promises of better days ahead. The announced demise of the French-crafted and dominated franc CFA franc now signals the coming soon of the ECO, a common currency for the Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS. That eventuality and the coming into being of the African Continental Free Trade Area, AfCFTA, is actually AfCFTA, the abbreviation, are like the olive branch brought in by the dove after the great flood that saw Noah, his family, and surviving living things proceed with the job of populating the earth. Yes, the ECO and the Continental Free Trade Area are more than just symbols of hope. They are the result of resolve and an unbending will by a continent that has stayed too long in the little boy's corner of the international arena of economic and political play. In our discussion today, all ears are open to hear from an unrelenting, no-nonsense champion of a free Africa and former AU ambassador to the United States of America, Her Excellency Arikana Chihombori Quao, who will be formally welcomed on this program today by Africa Media Corporation's chair, Reverend Pam Fomunung. Her Excellency is no stranger to Africa Online and its mission to raise awareness on issues pertinent to the Africa we know and the African people that populate not just the continent, but almost every other part of the world. But first, welcome everyone out there to Africa Online Media Corporation's live broadcast. Here now is our co-anchor, Sylvia. I wouldn't say Stella today, it's Sylvia from, well, she's going to welcome you to the program too. She's going to give you her regards from the banks of one of Africa's greatest natural resources, Lake Victoria, and its feeder river, the Zambezi. So, Sylvia, why don't you take the microphone, welcome us all on board. I know you had started doing that, but please, formally, let's get this ball rolling.
Yes,
Over to you.
Yes. Thank you so much, Asonglefac. Again, my name is Sylvia Litana Robertson, like I had announced earlier on before our actual host came on. And my brother, Victoria Falls, is fed by Zambezi River in Zambia. That's where I hail from. It's a beautiful, it's a beautiful country. And for those of you who don't know, Victoria Falls is one of the mighty 7 wonders of the world. Or is it 8 wonders of the world now? Anyway, one of the above. But nonetheless, it's a pleasure always, like I said, to come into your living rooms every Sunday and to converse with you and to see you and to hear what your views and your opinions are on some of these topics that we have been putting up for you. This is your show. This is your forum. This is for you when you want something to be understood or to be known. Please feel free, to call in, because today we have a very special guest we had announced earlier on. Suffice to say, for those of you who are coming on the first time on this show, well, guess what? You're in for a treat. The treat today is a very, very big and important guest that we will be talking to, or will be disseminating some very pertinent information to the general public. And if you're listening, or whether via video or via audio, please feel free to either text your questions or to call in. We will give you a chance to ask questions in between as Her Excellency is speaking or as the discussion will be going on. So if you're just tuning in again, this is Africa Online Media Corporation, and we welcome each and every one of you. Every Sunday, we are online on Facebook, so please feel free to join us any day, anytime. This is your show. Reverend Pam?
Thank you so much. Again, this show is unscripted, so just bear with us. This is real. It's real, we're all Africans here. In case some of you were wondering why our president, Ms. Sylvia, said her name is she's Stella, she's not Stella, is because our primary anchor, and I will keep saying this because he did it for so long, kept calling her Stella. And we
Yes.
actually thought he had a girlfriend in primary school called Stella that looked like our president. That's why he kept calling her Stella.
I never had a girlfriend even in secondary school. So
anyway, you've been married for more than 50 years to the same woman. So
I know.
We actually finally have a Stella on the show, Dr. Stella Emmanuel. I'm sure she just left church. She'll be joining us shortly. I'm speaking to you and looking out for Her Excellency. As soon as she comes on board, we're going to give her the airways. But I want, on behalf of Africa Online Media Corporation, one more time, I want to welcome you again. So this is one show that you get welcome by the president, you get welcome by the chief executive editor, you get welcome by the chair and CEO, you get welcome by participants. So you are welcome. This is your show. You know, so long as you're on this show, it is your show. I see a lot of our new brothers. I see Brother Arvin Winford, Brother Agrippa. I see Archbishop Mary. I see Lekunga Casper. I see Yan. I see my beautiful cousin Yvonne Kanko. I see Yvonne Kibikwa. I see James Mutang. I see there's somebody with Delia's iPad. There's somebody from LA, and there are several people watching on Facebook. So you are all very welcome. Time is gonna come. Let me see if that's Her Excellency will just join. When we're gonna give, Assistant Judith, you're welcome. We're gonna give opportunity for our participants to unmute and ask their questions. Artin, you're welcome. Everybody is muted. So when it's time for you to speak or ask questions, please kindly unmute. If you are on your phone, it's *6. If you're on your iPad or laptop, just go and unmute the button. If you want to show your video, you know, just look on your screen and turn on your video. But we're going to have an exciting show today. While we are waiting for the for Her Excellency to come, I have a question for our audience. How many of you know about the Africa Continental Free Trade Area or Agreement? Sometimes people mix the A to mean area or agreement, same thing. AfCFTA. How many of you are familiar with it? And just unmute yourself and tell us what it means to you. Reverend Solange, you're welcome. Again, that question is for our audience. Unmute yourself. If you're speaking, we're not ignoring you. You need to unmute yourself. Who wants to tell us if they are familiar with this Continental Free Trade Area, the African Free Trade Area, and what it means to them or what they know about it? Because our sister is going to be, you know, enlightening us about it when she makes it on the show. Again, that's an open question. Sister Sylvia,
yes, for the viewers that are watching us right now, I know that sometimes it becomes clamored and cluttered when everybody wants to speak at the same time. When you go on your screen and you click at the bottom of your screen where it says participants, if you look down there, all of you should see like a two little person. Right now it's counting down on the numbers. We're at number 20. So when you click on that, it explodes a little page to your right-hand side of your screen. Then when you go to the right hand of your screen, at the very bottom or in the middle of the page, you'll see where it says invite, mute me, raise hand. So if you click on raise hand, it will give our chairperson an opportunity to see who the next person is that would like to speak, or it puts you in as first come, first served. In other words, if I click first, yeah, I'll be my name will appear first, and then if the Reverend clicks second, then her name comes underneath me. That way we don't miss anybody out. So let me just repeat that one more time slowly. Please go to the bottom of your screen where you will see a mute, a stop video, and a participant with two little people, a symbol for two little people. Click on that participant thing. It will explode a small page to the right-hand side of your screen. Once that happens, go halfway down, just above where it says Zoom group chat. There's a thing that says raise hand on the right hand. When you're ready to speak, please click on that.
Thank you, Madam President.
No, you're next in line.
Your hand went up first.
Thank you so much. I didn't mean to.
Yeah, no, that's good. Judith, your hand went up first. You go ahead.
Okay, so what I understand the free trade across the AfCFTA will do for Africa is enable the entire continent and free participation of each country to buy, sell, work in every country, goods across the country. It frees them up from the visa restrictions. It frees them up from any of the barriers that we had before. And some of the advantages, I'll give you one of the advantages that I see is being able to be a trader or vendor or somebody in one African country, but doing business across the entire continent freely. And for some people like South Africa, for example, who order oil, like goods, oil, the cooking oil, coconut oil, all of those things, instead of them purchasing such things from Turkey, Germany, and Europe, they will now be able to have access to oil that's coming in from West Africa, like palm oil and all those things. So it's up to us, the Africans, to really take advantage of this opportunity and beef our businesses up and sell across the continent. That's what I get.
Thank you very much, Sister Judith. That was Ms. Judith Fang. We appreciate that. Who is next? But I think, I'm not quite sure if it's actually going to allow that free movement without visa. I know there's an effort, you know, to have Africa's passport. I think diplomats already have it, but her ambassador is going to weigh in on that. But I mean, you cannot succeed in this Continental Free Trade Agreement or movement of goods and services and people without the free movement of the people themselves, human resources. We need to have an Africa passport or, you know, visa-free entrance across the continent for this to work. But let's hear from the next audience. Again, we are just waiting for Her Excellency. Madam President, if you want to text her just to check, it's 21 minutes.
I'm holding my phone right now. She texted.
Okay, so who is next? Who wants to tell us what they know about this Continental Free Trade Agreement?
Before you go ahead, Madam Chair, just let me add on one or two things to what you just said. Judith, your statement was almost on the nose, but like she said, we'll have a little bit more in-depth information and clarification from Our Excellency. However, it is true that the heads of state, the African heads of states at the African Union did come up with this AfCFTA, and it was started, I think, May and implemented in July of 2019. So as we speak right now, there are efforts being made, or rather it is in the process of being into existence, so to speak. And like the Reverend said, the passports, the African, what we call one passport, I can't remember the right word, but like she said, Excellency will give us the right terminology for that. The one passport that is supposed to be now allowing, it's almost like an Africa without borders. That's how I look at it. Yes. The borders are there, but this is what they're trying to achieve, so that, like you rightly said, South Africa should be able to order palm oil from Ghana, from Nigeria, from Cameroon, and anywhere else. So this is a very good thing for us, and this is why we thought we discussed this with the public in general, so that we ask Her Excellency all the pertinent questions and as well get the right information from her from the get-go. Next caller, please.
Please unmute yourself, you know, if you are speaking, unmute yourself. I know we have several people on. Unmute yourself, please, if you're speaking.
Any hands up, Reverend?
I don't see any, but they can unmute themselves to speak. Okay, while we are waiting for Her Excellency, I have a question for all of you. What do you see as the biggest hindrance to the implementation of the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement? That's for everybody, you know. Oh, I see Yvette. I'm sorry, my apologies. Yvette, unmute yourself and ask your question. Yvette has a question. Yvette, you are on.
Hello, everyone, and good afternoon or good evening to most of us that are on the East Coast. I wanted to respond to both questions, actually. For the first question, you mentioned what does the African Pre-Continental Trade Agreement mean to us? As a young person, I'm a millennial, and for me, I just the opportunity and the really biggest opportunity for us, business owners, anyone who is doing business globally, just the opportunity to step across borders that have been developed by colonialists and really create a bigger impact and more revenues by reaching more people, and doing that in a more strategic way where we don't have those barriers of trade that we've had before. So that's a big deal to my generation. And to answer your second question, one of the biggest hindrances I see two. First, it's for like folks like me who are in the diaspora right now. If we want to get our documentation considered, citizens or dual citizens of our country, that process is challenging for most of us. And if we can expedite the policy making procedures and make that smoother so that we have those identification documents, I think that would go a long way in creating the mechanisms for people who are in the diaspora, who've been brought out of Africa. And the second hindrance I see is just slow policy making. I know that the agreement was just signed, but we really our governments need to push for more action and more advertising, more knowledge awareness, just sensitizing everyone, continuing to push the whole knowledge base about what's going on, what's changed, what does this mean for me as an African or someone in the diaspora that's an African, and really continuing to push this forward. I don't think we're doing enough of that.
Thank you so much, Yvette. Nia-Asong, over to you.
Thank you very much. Yes, as we said, if you have questions, please indicate and we'll call on you to ask your question. But we are talking about the African Free Trade Union.
Hold on, yes, we can't see you.
Yes, okay.
Yes, we can only see your top.
My head, yeah, because I was struggling with the technology. Yeah.
Much better.
Thank you. Yeah, I
want
was
to see
on my phone. Okay, so what I was saying is we need for all of us to know what the African Free Trade Area is all about. Then we have to go down to know about the ECO, the money union, the money unit that is supposed to go for the West African group. And of course, we are Africans who are here to create awareness, to raise awareness, and to discuss issues touching on the lives of you and I, anybody born from or living in Africa. So please, you're welcome to the program. And please, let's see, is our guest on the line?
Actually, she just texted me. She's logging in right now.
Okay.
Okay. I was just about to tell you that.
Yeah, she just texted that she's logging in. So as soon as she comes in, I will interrupt whoever is speaking. Let me see here if she's on. Okay, Nia-Asong, go ahead. She's not on yet.
She's not yet.
I'll let you guys know when she.
Okay, Sylvia, you have something to ask our people out there.
Yes, my people out there, we're talking about also the CFA, C as in Charlie, F as in Frank, A as in Apple, which is the money that has been used by most of our Francophone countries in Africa. I think there are 13 of them. Mm-hmm. Now, being told that it's transitioning to the ECHO, E as in egg, C as in Charlie, O as in Oscar. What is your view on that? Is there really a difference between the CFA and the ECHO, or is it just one same thing that they've just changed the name to? Somebody weigh in on that.
Nobody's weighing in on that. Well, coming from the area that uses that money, because there are two groups in Africa. There's the West African group, the ones who are changing now to the ECO, and then the Central African one that is still yet the heads of state. Some of them are so old that they don't even know what they're talking about anymore, whether there's need for new money or not. But the fact is, this money has been in use, I think, since 1957, 58 or so in these West African countries and in Central Africa. So the countries of West Africa have now taken the bull by the horn and said, we want our own money. And they decided to call it ECO, which is from ECOWAS, which is a West African Economic Community in English. Well, they speak mostly French, except perhaps, no, Nigeria is trying to join. Nigeria, Ghana, and Sierra Leone, I think, are trying to join. So that would take the number to 14. The Central African one, the CFA in Central Africa is for Chad, Cameroon, Central African Republic, Congo, the small Congo, Equatorial Guinea now, Cameroon, of course, and then, of course, there's Sao Tome and Principe. I think they tried to use it, but I don't know if they finally actually started using it. So there were 6 countries or so. They were usually the Central African Community, the UDIAC countries in those days. Now they are the Central African Community. They are trying to also talk about getting some new money. But as I said, the heads of state are either too uncompromising or too much into the shoe of the French that they don't want to cut off that apron string. It's unfortunate that I have to say this, but it's reality. We live by reality these days. So that is the situation. It is money, yes, but it is printed in France. It is minted in France. And the African countries pay a percentage to the French central bank. For the past, how many years have we been independent? So this money minted in France, they pay the money, they pay the tolls to France. France does everything for them. You wouldn't believe that even passports for those countries are printed in France. So why should France, or why should we as independent African countries continue to hang on the apron strings of our former so-called colonial masters? I see our guest on the line, and I think Reverend Pam, over to you.
Thank you so much, Nia Song. I had to put the spotlight on my beautiful sister so as to interrupt you, Nia Song, because you know you're a man. We women, we rock, especially we African women. So on behalf of Africa Online Media Corporation, I am really delighted to welcome my beautiful sister to this planet. She's to this platform. She's no stranger. It's Planet Africa Online, amen.
That's right.
I am really, really excited because not only is she a sister, I love her very much, and if there was ever an embodiment of Mama Africa, you're looking at her. That's why I put the spotlight on her. So Sister Sylvia, so you guys can take a back seat. Today you will take a back seat. My sister is in the spotlight. I came across this young lady September of 2018, and I was so impressed. And I reached out to her, invited her to be our keynote speaker for Africa's Brain Bank inaugural summit. And boy, oh boy, did she deliver. She woke us up. And I won't talk too much about her because if I do, I may get emotional. So she doesn't rest. She makes everybody feels at home. Some people think they are her favorite, but I can tell you right now, I am her favorite. Sister Sylvia, keep quiet. Don't say anything. Yes, just be quiet. You can say something after the show. And this show is unscripted. I already warned a lot of you. Most people are watching on Facebook, but Your Excellency, you are warmly welcome. Like I said, I don't want to get emotional. I'm just going to let our anchors, Mr. Asonglefac Nkemleke, you met him also at the launch of the Brain Bank. He's part of the Brain Bank. Sister Sylvia is part of the Brain Bank. I actually met Sister Sylvia after the event when I came to the AU to meet with you after our event. That's when I met her. And I am very, very excited about this show today. We are talking about the death of the CFA. Some people might say it's not dead, but we are already proclaiming it as dead, and it's going to die completely. We are actually doing a funeral for the CFA today. The birth of the ECO and the implementation of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, and how this pandemic is going to impact its implication. A couple of years ago, we talked on this show about three currency for our continent, Africa. Well, all the French countries, I think there are about 14, using one currency different from the CFA. All the East African countries using the shilling, and then the Southern SADC nations using the rand or some other currency. But I'm going to hand over. I'm actually here in a technical capacity, believe it or not. I'm the one streaming this and monitoring the back behind the scenes. So I'm going to hand over to our primary anchor, Mr. Asonglefac Nkemleke, and his co-host, Ms. Sylvia Letana Robinson, who is also the president of Africa Online Media Corporation. Over to you, Nia Song.
Your Excellency, it's a pleasure seeing you again after March 31st, 2019 in Washington, D.C. at the University of Maryland. That night was a great night for me personally because I was touched to the core by your presentation. That said, we're talking issues concerning our dear continent. How far, I know, can you say you as an individual has gone to be able to raise awareness about not just issues concerning the continent, because I know they've tried to quieten you unsuccessfully, but how far have you gone to continue that fight that you started many years ago?
Thank you again, Reverend Pam, Sister Sylvia, your honorable. We are, and all the organizers of this wonderful program. Thank you for having me. And thank you for continuing to shine a light on our beloved continent and some of the issues that we are facing, not only as a continent, but as a Black race. So I appreciate you. I appreciate everything that you're doing. And on behalf of our brothers and sisters in Africa and all the Black people around the world, we appreciate you for what you do. To answer your question in terms of what have I done since leaving the office, realizing that the only way for Africa to take a rightful place on the world stage is when her children in the diaspora come home. The reality is the capacity that Africa needs to build the Africa that we want is in the diaspora. Let me take it home and simplify it for you. There is not a single African country that has the capacity to build a railway line, to build an airport, to build some of the basic infrastructures that we need. And sadly, if we were to combine and work as a continent, we might be able to find the capacity to build a railway line and an airport. But we are operating in silos as Malawi, as Botswana, as Central African Republic. And that was all done by design, going back to the Berlin Conference, which is why you hear me constantly go back to the Berlin Conference, because I want people to understand it was a horrible strategy 135 years ago, and somehow we have failed to dismantle the Berlin Conference. Be it as it may, the solution is for the brain drain that has occurred over the past 400 years, starting with the children who were sold into slavery, to the brain drain from those who left in search of greener pastures, running away from wars and famine. The end result is Africa's intellectual property, intellectual capacity, Africa's gold is in the diaspora. Some actually would like to refer to the African diaspora as Africa's gold. When we organize and we go home as a united front, guess what? No more can the heads of states give first choice, first right of refusal to the Chinese or the Europeans. Right now, the heads of states don't have a choice. They want development. They want electricity in the villages. They want running water in the villages. They want roads to go to the villages. But the capacity to build and deliver on that is not there in their countries. So the foreigners are coming in, they understand our needs, they realize the diaspora are still asleep. So they're coming in, and now with the approval of the African Continental Free Trade Area, the boundaries that have kept us from trading with each other as African countries are now being melted. The Chinese and the Europeans, they now have a strategy to say, you know what? Now we can register a company in one country and spread like wildfire throughout the continent. They have a strategy on how they're going to take over Africa. Guess who is not strategizing? The owners of the land, the children of Africa in the diaspora. What is needed is we have the Chinese on one side, we have the Europeans on the other side. There is a void, there is a space, there is a seat that is waiting for the diaspora to occupy, to fill in that intellectual capacity, to fill in that financial muscle, and we have it. It's one thing if we didn't have it. We have the financial capacity, we have the intellectual capacity. All we have to do is unite. Unite and fill that void space. But if we don't organize and come and fill that void, guess what? The Chinese are going to come and take it. The Europeans will continue to take it. That is the sad status of our reality. To say, how do we wake each other up? To say, while I may be mad at you, my brother, but when it comes to the family, we come together. Why can't we learn from the Jews? When the Jews realized that they were considered an outcast, they realized their strength was in their unity. So they came together, but they realized coming together alone is not enough. It's about economics. So they started pulling their monies together. There are only about 15 million Jews in the diaspora. And their claim is a small piece of land called Israel. And yet that small group controls the world.
Yes.
Because they have the financial economy. On the other hand, we are 1.7 billion Black people in the world. And we own the largest landmass in the world, over 30,000 square kilometers. And we are treated as the scum of the earth. If you can just look at those two comparisons, the Jews and their little bit of land and Africa, 15 million, and how many do we have in Black people? Why are we not taking over? Why aren't we ruling the world? It's because we cannot see it within ourselves to come together, to trust not only ourselves, but each other. How often has anyone tried to do something and fundraise and we support each other? What we don't realize, to take it to a personal level, if I don't trust my brother, guess what? My failure to trust my brother is a reflection of how I don't trust myself. I want to repeat that. My failure to trust my brother is a reflection of how I don't trust myself. And then guess what? Your own brother doesn't trust you either. And so his failure to trust me is a reflection of his own failure to trust himself. And then it becomes a domino effect.
Yes, so
we don't trust each other.
Yes.
Nothing gets done. And we continue to be stupid, and we continue to be exploited. We continue to be mistreated. And that's why we can just be killed and gunned down in broad daylight. And they know we are only going to make noise. And after a while, it stops until the next killing, because we are poor people. We don't have financial economic liberation. We don't have the financial muscle. In this world, let's face it, it's about the economics. Until we can control our own economy, nothing is going to change about Black people. So let's face it.
Excellency, but how do we get there? How do we get there? How do we overcome that distrust of each other, that mistrust amongst us, and be able to build that new dynamic that will project us into the future?
It's about education, my brother. Let me start by giving you how they got us to where we are today. We were systematically put to sleep. We were systematically brainwashed. We are so far off base that we don't even know what base is. Let me give you an example. And I use this woman, a patient of mine, who was talking to me very casually about how the husband comes home every day and he beats her up. At some point in the evening before he goes to bed, every now and then he forgets that he hasn't beaten her up. He wakes up and he starts beating her up. So she was talking about how when he comes home, he wishes he could just beat her up so we can get it over with. And I'm listening to this woman describing a horrendous living situation, but she has normalized it. So I said, so when he's beating you up, what are you doing? She's talking about covering her face because she didn't want boobs to have bruises on her face, so her family would ask her what happened. Now this woman is even defending the abuser. We call that a battered woman. She didn't even know what norm was anymore. Abuse was part of a normal routine for her. We Black people, we are sort of like that. We are used to abuse. We give excuses for abuse. And though we don't realize that what we are accepting is not normal. You take, for example, how can a whole continent, $500 billion to France every year, and nobody was talking about it. A poor continent, they say. They're taking one little bitty country, we said nothing. There's so many abuses from the, look at the safe havens. The average African country, the major employers are the former companies that belong to the former colonizers. They employ close to 75% of the people in that country. They don't pay taxes. They send all their monies to safe havens. What? And we're talking trillions out of Africa. the illegal mining, the illegal logging, illegal fishing, illegal trading, plants and wildlife. When you take all that together with the safe havens, billions of dollars, trillions of dollars are getting out of Africa. Why aren't we stopping it? Because when we go to the negotiating tables, you sit us in front of a white person, we start to shake. We are afraid of the white man. How did we get to be afraid of the white man? Very easy, my brother. When the missionaries came to Africa, they knew we were powerful people with our own well-established religious systems, educational systems. They knew they could not conquer us unless they put in a strategy to make us believe that what they bring to Africa is better and that what we have in Africa is not good. They also told us that there's a Jesus Christ who is white, that the angels were white, that the devil was black. They proceeded to tell us the angel was desirable and Jesus Christ, and then now here's the kicker. We all know white people don't look like a white piece of paper, but they turn around and say, you see, we are white. We represent the angels. We represent Jesus Christ. Are you with me? Then they turn around and then they go to us black people. They said the devil is black. The devil is to be hated. The devil does all the horrible things. And you wear black when you bury somebody. You wear white when you marry. You wear white when you baptize somebody. And then they turn around. I look at myself. They said, it doesn't matter how you look. You all are black. Mm-hmm. So now they say, come to church twice a week. And you kneel in front of a white Jesus. You kneel in front of some white angels. And every day you worship images that don't represent you. So no wonder little boys and girls, they want to grow up wanting to be like the white people because they are the ones that represent purity and everything beautiful and everything desirable. Have you ever wondered why we have never questioned that? Who has seen the devil? Who has seen the angels? Being a devil is based on deeds. What Officer Chauvin did when he murdered George Floyd, that's the personification of a devil. We have never questioned that. We have never questioned that. Jesus Christ was not white. Jesus Christ was a brown person, and we all know it. It's in the Bible. When Mary and Joseph were told to run away with Jesus Christ, they were told to go to Egypt. Because in Egypt, he was going to blend with people who look like him.
Exactly.
If he was white, they would have told them to go to Europe. But in Europe, he was going to stand out like a sore tooth. And so what we need is to teach our children.
Yeah, on your Excellency, on that line of thought, it is also from Africa that we had the greatest helper of Jesus Christ on the way to Calvary, the guy from Libya. That said, our focus, let's come back home. We know all those things, but I know that you are reiterating them for better understanding. But how is the coming of the Africa Free Trade Area going to change the dynamic?
The African Free Trade Area is not going to change the dynamic until our mindset changes. What's needed is the diaspora to go home. We're going to open up the borders. 90% of the goods traded within Africa are going to be duty-free. But guess who's going to benefit from all those open borders? It's not going to be the children of Africa. If we do not organize, AfCFTA is going to see the ushering in of a complete takeover of the continent by the Chinese and the Europeans. Make no mistake about it, because we are not prepared to bring in the funding that is needed for the implementation of the Continental Free Trade Area. It is just that simple.
How do we get that funding? The African is generally poor. The African, as you already said, mistrust each other. How do we put the money together?
Well, that's why ADDI, African Diaspora Development Institute, we are going to go full force to educate and inform and wake up people. Remind people of our history. Many people don't realize they're suffering from the legacy of colonization. Many people don't realize they're suffering from the legacy of slavery. The simple fact that you cannot see it within you to say, let's all pull $1,000. 1 million people with $1,000, that's $1 billion, my brother. Right in this country, there are about 50 million Black people. Continental Africans, about 10 million. Just give me 1 million with $1,000. There are plenty of us who can do that. Now give me 2 million. Now go to Europe, give me 2 more. So 2.5 from here, 2.5 from Europe. That's 5 billion a year. We can take that 5 billion, leverage it. In 1 year, it can turn into 15, 20 billion. That's what they're doing. They come together. They put their finances together. They believe in each other. So what's needed is for us to wake up and not to find excuses as to why we can't. Yes, we can. We need to wake up. We need to understand that this time we must behave like the other races. Chinese will look out for the Chinese first. You'll never make it if you try to open a business in a Chinese neighborhood. You'll never make it if you try to open a business in an Indian neighborhood, in an Italian neighborhood, in an all-white neighborhood. It's only us Black people. If a Chinaman, if a white man was to open a business in our neighborhood, we will put our own Black brothers out of business and start patronizing the others. That is the disease.
Thank you.
We must realize we are suffering from it.
Uncle Sylvia, and after you, Reverend Palm, I think you all have questions itching in your lips, scratching your lips. So please take over now, Sylvia, and then Reverend Palm.
Your Excellency, with regards to us coming together as one people or as one group, where we come from in Africa, we're already so segmented by tribalism, by ethnic groups, by this and that, whatever factions that we belong to. How do we begin to mend ourselves from home before we can even think about us coming together here in the diaspora? Because already in the diaspora, the first thing I say is I'm Zambian. Reverend Pam will say I'm Cameroonian. You will say I'm Zimbabwean. What do we need to do to get ourselves to a place where we'll say I'm an African born in Zambia, I'm an African born in Malawi? What is it that we need to do as a people, especially starting with us, the diasporians, like you rightly said, we're here. And we need to mobilize ourselves in such a manner that we'll be able to do things together for each other so that we start now building the Africa that we want or bringing development to our motherland. Your Excellency.
It starts with education. Like I said, most people, one thing I found out was that the diaspora did not quite understand our African history and how we got here and what was really going on the continent. As you can see, the rising anti-French sentiment, it's rising because now we have exposed France and all the crimes they are committing in Africa. It starts with education. If I go back to this issue of the white angels and the white Jesus, that alone, take a moment and think about it. Why do you believe, if you were to go outside the street right now and ask 100 people, what color is Jesus? I mean, the angels, what color is the devil? Almost 100% are going to say white and black. And yet nobody has ever seen them. But we were taught. So we have to undo some of the teachings. We have to start with our children in schools. We must rewrite our textbooks. We must tell our children the truth. It's about education. It is about education. It's about understanding that black is beautiful, that you are not inferior to anybody, that white is not better. That undoing, what it does is when you are awoke, it is human beings who are going to the negotiating table and selling Africa because they are afraid to speak up. When a human being is awoke and empowered, they have the ability to fight back. I was at a summit, a media summit, and a girlfriend of mine asked a question to one journalist. Why do you journalists lie about Africa, misconstrue the truth? And the journalist said, nobody challenges us. He said, nobody challenges us. So they do it because nobody challenges them. Well, the same thing is true in Africa. Nobody challenged the French. The ones who tried to challenge the French, the leaders, they got killed. So that scared everybody else and they backed off. Nobody challenged France. We don't challenge. Now in Zambia, your president did a good job by challenging Glencore. Glencore had been in Zambia for decades, not paying taxes, until President Lungu finally said, enough is enough. I'm gonna cancel your license. Why wasn't that done decades ago? is because we are afraid.
Yes.
It's because we are afraid. So why are we afraid? It goes back to the mind. We must speak the truth. We must put the facts right there in our faces. And as ADDI, we're gonna keep talking. We will talk, all of us will talk until we have no more breath in our lungs. Because that's where the healing is gonna begin. Until we can wake up and speak and stand up and defend our turf, nothing is gonna change.
Thank you, Excellency. Brilliant answer. And again, those of you who are just tuning in, ADDI stands for the African Diaspora Development Institute, which has been founded by Her Excellency Dr. Arikana Chihombori Quao. And you can see the passion in her voice, you can see the passion in her action. And fortunately, I'm also part of this ADDI movement, and we encourage each and every one of you to also be a part of this movement. At the top of the hour, Reverend Pam Fomunung that you need to know. Now, not to divert from what you were saying, Your Excellency, you touched a little bit on France and the way that the French colonialists or colonizers have been treating us as Africans. And of course, we did accept that the mistreatment that has been going on for so long until you brought it out to where some of us now had to go back to our history books and we start rereading what you were saying to collaborate and for sure substantiate and find out that everything you were saying was the truth and nothing but the truth. Now, you've exposed them, they've come out, some things have been written in the newspapers, on media and everywhere. I know the media is really ripe right now with any gossip or anything that is coming out. We're talking about now the CFA. We heard that the CFA also has been changed from the CFA to the ECHO. And a lot of us are not very, very well versed on the difference or what the benefit is from changing it from the CFA to the ECHO. Right after your answer, I would like Reverend Pam Fomunung to chime in, please, Your Excellency.
Well, the ratification was a giant step in the right direction. The fact that the heads of states no longer need to deposit their financial reserves with France, that was huge. The fact that France no longer needs to have a representative in the central banks of those countries, that was also huge. We still need to get the representative of France removed from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We still need the representative of France removed from the presidential palace in the president's offices. The one that really was just a rename is the ECHO. They simply renamed the CFA to the ECHO, thinking they can just put wool over our eyes. Nothing has really changed. The ECHO remains pegged to the euro. They have replaced the colonial tax with what they're calling foreign exchange tax. What do I mean by that? If the African countries want to trade with another country, their funds have to go through the French central bank. France will charge a tax before sending the money over to the other country. The reverse is also true. If a country wants to purchase from any of the African countries, the former French colonies, the funds go through the French central bank before, and they take again a foreign exchange tax before sending the funds over to the country. So they're still, so as far as the colonial tax and the foreign exchange tax, is exactly the same thing. They just renamed the CFA ECHO. I guess, you know, in the past we would have taken it, but we're not going to take it. The African heads of states in West Africa, the ECOWAS, they were on their program of establishing their own ECHO. They set out their own parameters, about 5 of them, that say, if all the countries meet these parameters, then we are ready to have a currency, a regional currency that's gonna be sustainable. They are working towards meeting those parameters. They have not met those parameters yet. Yes, but France is wanting to come in and just say, forget your program. I'm just gonna impose the ECHO on you. It's not gonna work. The last conversations I know, Nigeria and Ghana had also just said, we're not gonna participate in that. Why would Nigeria want to give up control of their own currency and then be stuck with being pegged to the euro? Why would Ghana want to give up control of their own currency? It is through these currencies that they control us. Even now, even with our own currency, they're still controlling our economies through these currencies. They tell us to devalue our currencies when we're actually the ones with the gold. They take our gold and they use our gold to strengthen their own currencies, while we, the owners of the gold, we are being told to devalue our currencies. So it's a circus. As far as the ECHO is concerned, until there is complete separation from France. The ECO is just a rename of the CFA. So the fight and the struggle continues. We must continue to speak up until there's complete separation from France.
Thank you very
so
much, Excellency. We've reached the top of the hour.
Yeah, go ahead.
Pam, at the top of the hour.
Yes.
Top of the hour.
I have a question, see if you like.
Okay, just a minute. Yeah, we'll call you. You're actually third in queue. Your Excellency, thank you so much. We do have some people who raised their hands. Ms. Mafani is gonna go after the top of the hour. I have some announcements. So anchors, Sister Sylvia and Niason, take note. After the top of the hour, the announcements, we're gonna go with Ms. Mafani, Dr. Ben Bongang, Dr. Gebi, Mr. Dixon Besong, and Dr. Gebin Jinimbot. Those are the 4 questions we're going to take because of time. But we are at the top of the hour, and I am going to make a couple of announcements, and I'm going to share a screen, and our ambassador, our special guest, is going to talk about what you see on the screen that I'm going to share. You know, starting tomorrow, we are going to be discussing modern day slavery of Africans and people of African descent. Believe it or not, there's still slavery going on in different forms, shape, and fashion. It's not everything. It's not what I'm not referring to just what you see in Libya, which is also in Africa, but even with employment, there are Africans that are being paid 1/4 the wages of their non-African colleagues. So that's what we're going to be talking about starting tomorrow. But I am so grateful with the wealth of information that our guests have shared. I texted the anchors that we may have to extend the show briefly to accommodate our participants that want to ask some questions. Africa Online Media Corporation and our sister organization, Africa's Brain Bank, are going to be collaborating with ADDI. We'll discuss that offline, as Her Excellency knows very well, because she helped deliver the baby called Africa's Brain Bank. Our vision is to put an end to Africa's brain drain by building an IT repository. So we'll be talking about that, you know, off the air, how we're going to collaborate to promote each other's platform. We're all working together. Our motto is collaboration, development, and service. We have to work together to develop and serve our people and our continent. We also have a book called Africa's Brain Power that is on Amazon. However, I'm about to share a screen. Let me share the screen for a second. I am sure you know the screen. Do you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Can everybody see?
Africa 101.
Yes. The name says it all. This is a book by our illustrious sister. I mean, she is indefatigable. She is unclonable. Let me say it that way. I don't want to speak Bali here, because if I speak, she will not understand what I'm saying. But Your Excellency, oh, by the way, at the bottom of it, it says also register with ADDI. So Your Excellency, before I give you a minute to talk about this book, I have a question for you, which you can answer after you talk about the book. I don't know how prepared our government are. I am so concerned about our government. I personally don't trust our government. They have betrayed us for centuries. I don't know that even when the Continental Free Trade Agreement gets implemented, how far are we sure that the Chinese people are not going to hijack this stuff and be promoting their stuff under a fake label? Because they are everywhere, even in my village. They are in the villages. They are everywhere. They have finished all the pigs in my village and all the fish in the Victoria or Limbe seas. So that's my question for you. But I want you, Your Excellency, to take a minute and talk about this book, Africa 101, The Wake Up Call. Over to you, Your Excellency.
Thank you. Africa 101, it's a book that was written because I realized that there are only so many speeches I could give. There are so many videos that I could do, but I felt that there was a need for us to understand our history from the beginning up to now and way forward. So Africa 101 takes us from 600 years when the Portuguese first came to Africa. It explains the tactics they used to subdue us. It then touches a little bit on the slavery and a little bit of what happened. Then it picks up really heavy on the Berlin Conference, because Berlin Conference remains right now in effect and trying to get people to understand that until we dismantle the Berlin Conference, this is a strategy that they put in place to see to it that Africa and her children are forever defeated and dominated. I talk about the games they played with us during our colonization. I talk about how we slowly rose up and we got to independence, and how they only gave us limited political independence, but then they never gave us the economic liberation. I talk about the games they played with us since independence up to now to keep us from acquiring that economic liberation. I talk about the struggles of the African Organization of African Unity to attain a united Africa and why they failed. And I take it all the way to the African Continental Free Trade Area and why we must come together and why what the way forward should be unity of all people of African descent. I actually held the book, which was ready to be printed, but when George occurred, fortunately for me, the book was already in line. I asked them to just hold it. I wanted to do a chapter on what's going on now, and that title is called I Can't Breathe, Get Off My Neck. So that's all done now, but that's what the book is about. It takes us in a nutshell. It's a brief overview of us Black people, where we have been, where we are, and where we need to be. That's what Africa 101 is. We hope by the time one finishes reading the book, they will be awoken. They will understand why we think the way we do, why we behave the way we do, why when I'm at home in Africa and I'm waiting to be waited on, if a white person comes, my own young daughter, young son, would leave waiting on me and rush to go wait on a white person. We need to understand that we are now on automatic pilot. It's almost as of stupidity, really. It's almost as if we've undergone a genetic mutation that we can't even see the foolish things that we do. So the book is meant to wake us up after we read it, and you can go to africa101.org, africa101.org, and reserve your copy.
Thank you
now,
so much.
to answer your question about, what was the question again?
My question was that our government, how prepared are they to protect us Africans when this Continental Free Trade Agreement is finally implemented, to keep the Chinese people from taking over, hijacking it, because the Chinese people are the biggest pirates on the planet. They can come and make puff-puff and you think it came from the woman in the village. They're actually doing that in Cameroon. So that was my question. And after that, the anchors will call our participants who have questions. Thank you.
Again, until we fill that void, if you remember earlier, I said there's a void. There's need for intellectual capacity. There's need for an injection of funds. Until we are prepared. I was talking to Sister Sylvia about a contract that was recently given to the Chinese for 600 megawatts of power, 200 megawatts each, 3 contracts. And Zambians were up in arms. And I said, well, Sister Sylvia, if you tell me you know diaspora with money, I can go to the president and say, Mr. President, we got people who can take this contract. So do you know any diaspora group that can take that 200 megawatt contract? The answer is no. So then go tell the grandmother in the village who's getting ready to have electricity that you can't have electricity, and you're saying it from 10,000 miles away, that grandma, you can't have electricity because we don't want the Chinese to do it. Well, grandma has never had electricity all her life. Grandma has never had running water all her life. She has a chance of having electricity and running water, and you're busy complaining from 10,000 miles away. When you are ready to put your money together and come and build that power plant, then and only then can you talk. Until then, you can't complain. You're not ready to do what it takes to move Africa forward. So let's just not be complainers. If we are going to complain, then let's pull our monies together. Let's block the Chinese from coming in. Let's block the Europeans from coming in. But we have to be prepared to put our money where our mouth is. And that is where the problem is. So my sister, for those who want to complain from 10,000 miles away, Chinese are coming to take what you are not taking. Yes. It is just that simple. So don't complain. We're not listening to that. When you're ready to go, the heads of states are saying, come. In Zambia, the president was going to give us all the opportunities in Zambia for the diaspora to choose. All of them, all the heads of states are prepared to do that, to make us, to give us the first right of refusal before they go to the Chinese, before they go to the European. Their biggest complaint is, we don't know how to get to the diaspora. And that's the truth. We are disorganized. So why are we complaining? And when we say put your money together, we don't trust each other. So how on earth do you think we're going to build Africa if you can't trust each other? I mean, it's stupid. That goes back to the disease. It goes back to the disease. You're colonized, and that's why your mind thinks like that. And the way you think others feel, you are projecting your own feelings. We must understand ourselves that we are on automatic pilot of stupidity, and we need to wake up.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I think there are people lined up who want to ask questions. I think there was a Ms. Mafani. I think she's the first on the list. Ms. Mafani, are you still with us? Ask your question.
Yes, I'm here. And thank you very much. Your Excellency, thank you so much for this wonderful conversation. My name is Evelyn. I'm talking from, Zooming from Sierra Leone, Freetown. My question to you is about data. How much data do we have which is evident that the Africans we have in diaspora, they have sufficient funds or sufficient resources to be able to do big contracts? I say this because sometimes when you look at many Africans in diaspora, they are in the rat race. I want to use the words of Rich Dad Poor Dad. Many of them are in the rat race. And if you look at the quadrant, if you look at the left and the right quadrant, if you look at Japanese, Chinese and the Jew, when they go abroad, or for example, get to America, what they do is they are on the left quadrant. Their strategy is to change the quadrant, to move from the left to the right quadrant to business and investment. And that is sort of strategy which many Africans in diaspora have. So we may have numbers, we may be able to have numbers that will be able to financially back up those grand projects. So I don't know if you have the data. You know, the second one is about mindset. You know, the mindset for us now, I believe personally that for me to change now, it's really getting too late because I think we need to, as Reverend Pamela asked before, we need to get a commitment of our governments to ensure that we begin to change the curriculum so that the mindsets of our children in America, by the age of 12, an American child is telling you that America is the best country in the world. You know, we need to change our curriculum so that our kids, our grandchildren, my kids are old, they're already in the 30s, so I think it's late for them. Our grandchildren the mindset begins to change from preschool to secondary school and right to
excuse me, participant, 1 second, please. Because of time, my apologies for, I don't mean to disrespect the question you're asking, but I think I should.
Let me answer that. Yeah. Let me answer that question because I too have to leave. So starting with the diaspora, the official remittances figures, they range anywhere from 50 to 60 to 70 billion dollars a year from the African diaspora alone, continental. That is the official channels. The unofficial are telling us it could easily be double. So we know right there, based on that amount of money, that if we were to take the remittances alone, sent into Africa by the African diaspora, in some countries, the remittances are actually sustaining the country. Can you imagine if that 50 billion was to be taken in an organized way? So yes, we may be taxi drivers, we may be nursing assistants, but collectively we are putting a lot of money into Africa. So we know the capacity is there. Not only that, we are not talking of only continental Africans. The African Union definition of the African diaspora are all people of African descent living outside Africa. So now we are talking African Americans. Many of them are multimillionaires, they are billionaires, and they're running large corporations. We're looking at Black people in South America, many millionaires and billionaires in South America. They would love, in the Caribbean, in Europe, they would love to have an opportunity to go into Africa and benefit from what our continent has to offer. I always refer to the conversation President Trump had with African leaders in 2017. He said, I don't know why you guys are poor. My friends go to Africa poor, they come back rich. And that is so true. They go to Africa with $1 million or even less. And before you know it, by the end of the year, they are a billionaire. And I've seen it happen. We need to open those doors of opportunity to our children in the diaspora. There is a lot of money in the diaspora, a lot of money in the diaspora. So let's make no mistake about that.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you, Your Excellency. I think Professor Bongang had a question.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
Can we limit it to one question per participant and make it very short, please, because Her Excellency.
Yes, this is Ben Bongang from Savannah, Georgia, in the United States. Your Excellency, I think you are uniquely positioned to tell us from your vintage position over the years, close to African leaders, to tell us what you think is wrong with leadership in Africa. How are these people in the palaces on the continent wanting to stay forever in power? And why are they unable to bring out our countries from these problems that you've highlighted?
Again, let me start by the former French colonies, because they have the worst situation. One cannot become a president of any of the former French colonies without approval from France. Before, just last week or 2 weeks ago, when they did the ratification, the countries were just basically forced, since independence in the late 60s and late 50s and early 60s, these countries were giving up 85% of their bank reserves. They gave up their 85% of their bank reserves. They had to, they all had to speak French. If they needed to borrow some of their money that they deposited with France, they had to submit a financial report, and they could only access 20% of their deposit from last year as a loan at commercial interest rate. So you go from not owing them, you give them up all your money for years, and when you want some of your money, now you have a loan at commercial interest rates. I mean, it is just criminality of the highest order. Over the years, heads of states who have tried to push back, they were assassinated or they were imprisoned. So the realities of the consequences were real. Now you've given up your financial power. They also said all the contracts, private and public, French companies have the first right of refusal. Only what they don't want, the local companies can get. Now you have given up your natural resources. They also said all your military can only be trained in France. All your military equipment can only be purchased out of France. You cannot have military alliance with your neighboring countries. In the event of war, you can only align yourself with France. Thirdly, now you've given up your military power. You've given up military, natural resources, and economy. What kind of president are you? You're just a figurehead. So it doesn't matter. We could change presidents every year, every day if we want to. But until the fundamentals are addressed, nothing is going to change, my brother. I would vote for you to be the president of your country, but you're going to run into the same environment. So even if you steal $1 million or $2 million, who cares? You know? Yes, we do care about that. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying, if the environment was right, you'll be able to do more. But you yourself, you're working, they have their foot, they have their knee on your neck. You're barely breathing.
That's right.
And that is the problem. So that's why I'm saying the book about Africa 101 is to say, let's understand our Africa fully. So that way we prioritize. On a scale of 1 to 10, let's say we put leadership on number 5, because addressing number 5 alone is not going to solve your problem until you take care of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 10. Let's prioritize, but the only way we can prioritize is when we understand the issues completely. Most people did not even know about France. The other colonizers have never left Africa, by the way. They did not have this other pact that France made the former French colonies sign, but they are still in Africa. 75% of the natural resources traded at the London Stock Exchange are from Africa. 75%. And it's not us who own them. Those resources are owned by former British, French, German, Italian, Portuguese colonizers. We don't own any of it.
Thank you very much.
So that is the problem.
We're going to go to our third questioner, Besang. Besang, please, I think you have a question. Please make it short and to the point.
Sorry, it's not a question, it's a comment. I just signed up last week to join ADDI.
Good.
And in fact, ADDI is our GPS. If anybody has been moving around without a GPS, I don't know where you are going to. And the ambassador has provided us with a GPS.
Good.
I am here declaring that I am part of the registration committee.
Good.
Ambassador, if there's only one person who has signed up, I am the one now. The drive for signing up.
Thank you so much. Thank
Dixon
you so
Mason,
much.
thank you.
So much. Yeah, His
Thank you,
Excellency
my
will have-
brother. This is a movement.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead,
And,
Your
it
Excellency.
is a movement. We
Okay.
must all join the movement. When you look at what we are going through with George Floyd and now Mr. Brooks in Atlanta, one has to say, to what end?
Sorry.
How long is this going to go on? How long? At what point do you black men are going to stand up and say, enough is enough? We are not poor people. We have our continent. We can go and organize and rescue our continent. And guess what? When we start to block them from coming to Africa, see how quickly they will respect us. We need to unite and have the financial muscle and begin to say enough is enough. We must unite and we need to go to Africa and take back our continent. That's how we begin to regain our respect.
That being
So,
said,
yes.
we have Mr. Gabe Njinibat, who also has a question, I believe this time, not a comment, but a question. Mr. Njinibat, are you with us?
Yes, sir. I don't know if everybody can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
So I listen to Her Excellency, and sometimes I get very confused, but her comments are on point. But here's what I wanted to find out, Her Excellency. You just said that leadership is not the issue because they all the way on number 5, and the issues we have is at number 1. Now, as I'm from Cameroon, born and raised. I'm an author as well as an entrepreneur. It's very easy for me to set up a business in this country than in Cameroon, for example. And anybody who's trying to do that knows it. And the issue at hand is not me, it's not the ordinary guy who's struggling to make ends meet, it's the government, it's the leadership with all kinds of roadblocks on the way that prevents ordinary citizens who want to move back to their country because, like you said, they are sitting on their necks in this country. In China, we've seen the videos. In Dubai, we've seen all of it. But when you call the Cameroon government or any government of Africa to please come back and take us home, they don't want to do that. So how do I feel encouraged? How do we band ourselves together? How do we move back to a country that does not want to, that doesn't even care about its people, don't care about the students who go to school? Go back to Cameroon at this point. Go to the English section of the country. There's no school there for 4 years. Whose problem is it? It's the government. So I'm very emotional about this because I know that the issue, those who need the education, is the government, it's the leadership. They need to go to school about greed. They need to go to school about now staying there for 35, 40 years. Give us the chance to go back to our country, set up the business. There's no way we can band together if the leadership does not allow us.
All right, Gabby.
Gabby.
Let me answer that
let
question.
me answer the question, please.
Sorry.
That's okay. No. That's good, son. I feel your pain.
Yes.
You used a country that's actually a perfect example. Until the French are ready for beer to go, beer is not going anywhere. Until all of us as Africans wake up and begin to open our eyes, if you are one of those people who still feels inferior to the white men, who is afraid of the white men, who thinks France is home, there are many French-speaking people here. When they talk of home, they are referring to Paris, not to their home, the French-speaking country. You take that kind of a mindset and you make that person the president, nothing is going to change because their viewpoint is different. Now, the average person in leadership role, they were trained in the colonial educational system. Their understanding, look at the World Bank. We have a lot of educated people in the World Bank. They know what the World Bank is doing. They know the games the World Bank is playing. The average African country is paying a third of their GDP to loan repayments. These countries are getting large interest loans, loans with large interest rates, anywhere from 10, sometimes up to 25%. Africans are the ones negotiating those contracts. Why aren't they pulling their people aside and say, why are you doing this? You just gave a loan to Germany for 1%. Why are you giving the loan to Kenya for 20%? Are you with me? But it is our own people. And you know, those same people, because they work for the World Bank, they work for the IMF, they'll most likely be the president down the road. What do they know? If they could not stand up for Africa when they were at the World Bank or the IMF, do you think they're going to stand up for Africa when they go to Africa? No. So the problem is deep. It's about our minds. When you take a minister who is given a responsibility to take care of education, to take care of healthcare, but if they're going to start worrying about their own pocket, they're failing to understand what it means to be a leader. Yes, I understand that. So I'm saying we have issues that go back to colonization. Even the system that you're talking about, they have not changed the system because that system was put in place by France. You are right, there's need to change that, but if you cannot change it because France is dictating that you cannot change it, you cannot change it until France tells you. France is in the middle of every aspect of the leadership of the former French colonies. So it is a complex issue that needs to be understood. Where we come in, you can't bulk against France when half of your food is coming from France. When most of what you need is coming from France. France is printing your money. You piss them off, they'll stop printing money, and your people are going to the bank, the actual cash is not there. Who are they going to blame? They blame you. So I'm saying, son, I understand your frustration, and you're quite right, we need the leadership. But the leadership must be free to speak freely, to challenge freely without consequences. In the past, leaders have been murdered. In the past, there were chaotic situations, even terrorism. We have France, it is reported that France is talking to the governments, supporting them, but they're also supporting the terrorists in order to keep the chaos going. You look at the children, the soldiers who are killing. Some of us, they're telling us that the satellites have indicated that where these villagers are living, there are stockpiles of diamonds and gold and coltan. So what do? They get a few soldiers are drunk and they pay them a little bit of money. They go in, chop off a few heads, and when those people run away, they stay behind and do illegal mining. So are you getting the point, my son? So it's not just the leader. I'm saying there are multi-layered issues and they must be addressed from the root. Don't be stuck with the leader because my son, we will back you up to be the next president of Cameroon. You will not make it, son. So understand that. So yes, we are not saying leadership is not a problem. We are saying understand the whole smorgasbord. Understand the issues, because addressing just one issue and getting stuck on that issue, just like I used the example of diaspora would get all upset, corruption, the leaders are stealing money. I said the corruption watchdogs, they say $50 billion comes out of all of Africa a year from corruption. That's a lot of money and we must do something about it. But they never complained about 500 billion coming out of Africa to little-bitty France. So the question to me is, what kind of nonsense is this? You want to put all your energies complaining about 50 billion, and this other thief with 500 billion, we're just allowing him to walk past. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying wake up and understand all the issues, because don't focus on one, understand the entire process. So if you're going to intervene, you intervene where it matters the most.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. And on that note, I would like to call Her Excellency Ambassador Lisa Parks for her question, and then we're going to end up with Dr. Ogoji. Your Excellency, Lisa Parks, are you on? Ambassador Lisa Parks, are you on?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, good. Please, thank you. Go ahead.
Yes, my question, I thought we were going to run out of time, so I typed it. I was asking the ambassador if we had designated a bank or banks yet for us to start trying to make our deposits so that when she goes into war, she has a war chest.
Your Excellency?
She said, have we designated a bank?
Do we have designated banks that people can be making deposits in?
Well, when I was still the ambassador, we were looking at industrial bank. Some people did open their accounts. I don't know how much money they have because these are personal accounts. But we had recommended a black bank, industrial bank. They were supposed to have online banking. They had issues in the sense that you only could be a citizen. You couldn't be a permanent resident or a student to open an account. So that created some challenges for a lot of people. But yeah, industrial bank is the one that we had talked about.
Thank you. Reverend Solange and Dr. Ogoji, are you still online? I don't see the...
Yes, they are. Yeah. They can unmute.
Okay, thank you. Let's start with Dr. Ogoji. Please unmute yourself, and then I'll have Reverend Solange conclude with her last question. And then we'll give Her Excellency to give us the last word. Dr. Ogoji, is he on?
They need to unmute.
Can you please unmute Dr. Ogoji or Reverend Solange, one of the two? Whoever unmutes first, please come on. Ask your question or your contribution. I don't see Dr. Ogoji here.
Okay,
I'm here. I'm here now. Okay.
Okay, thank you, doctor. Go ahead, please.
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
So my name is Dr. Ogoji. I have a comment and a question. Well, the comment is, the question is, over the years,
your audio is breaking, Dr. Ogoji.
Maybe close down your and just use your audio. Maybe that's enough.
Talking about
nah. Mute him.
Dr. Ogoji, we can't hear you. Dr. Ogoji?
All right.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Go ahead, please.
Better?
Yes, much better.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
So my question is, I've always agreed with you. I've always had this idea. Who told us that the devil is black and Jesus is white? So I remember going to school, all they told me was Roman Empire, German Empire, French Revolution, World War I, World War II. How can we get our leaders to change the education curriculum to teach about slavery in Africa, change the perspective that Jesus Christ is a black man? You know, why? How can we change it? Because here, ask my white friend.
No. Jesus Christ is not a black man.
Let him speak.
It's not white. It's not white.
Let him speak.
Dr. Stella,
So I asked my white friends here in America, say, when you were growing up, how was the devil described to you? They said, the devil is an old white man with horns. I said, really? How come you told the devil is a black man? Because the devil is not a black man. In Africa, the devil was a black man. That's what I was taught. In America, the devil is an old white man with so many big horns. So why is this? So how can we go back to the primary schools and say, look, God doesn't have a color. He came from the Middle East based on the Bible story, but he has no color. And the devil has never been black. The devil is an old white man with horns. That's what they taught when they were teaching their own children. So how do we change this process? How can we make this out there so that our people should stop following?
Okay. Her Excellency, Sylvia, you're muted. Her Excellency.
So I think, Reverend Fomunung, I want you to describe Jesus in the Bible. Talk about how they described the skin. It was like crimson and hair like wool.
Yes.
That's a brown person. Jesus was a brown person. That's why he could blend in Egypt. Brown people are black people.
Yes.
You don't get to be brown without melanin. So don't fool yourself, my brother. Jesus Christ was black. Because he had melanin, that's what made him brown.
Thank you, Excellency.
Okay.
Solange?
I can't do this black Jesus thing.
You're muted, Reverend Solange. Can you unmute yourself, please?
She's tired of this black Jesus.
Okay, we are not, I'm really excited to be able to be part of this program today and to listen to the ambassador, you know, of I've watched some videos of her speaking engagements in different places, and I was really looking forward to this. And I know today is not about religion and all that. And I agree. Jesus was not, to me, I would say was a brown person. I will not use the word white, and I will not use the word black. But he was a brown person, a color to all. And God made it that way because each of us can claim him, whether it's by the fairness of his skin, the white people can say he's white, or by the melanin in his system, we could say he's black. But I will stick with brown. But today it's not about religion. Even though religion always intertwined with a lot of things that we discussed. Back from slavery, some people say the white man came and gave us the Bible and took our gold, took our land. But today we're talking about Africa, free trade, our currency. Personally, I'm a certified accountant by profession, pastor by appointment, by anointing. What I want to say, Ambassador, I mean, that is someone I really admire your courage, who you are, what you've portrayed for the African woman, because I like strong women, and you're one of them. I'm not saying it because you're here on the screen, but I've listened to a lot of your engagement. Now let's talk about free trade. I learned all of this in school, starting from primary school to college. And then we also talk about, one of my brothers, Dr. Gavin Jidwa, talked about leadership and corruption. That's always is embedded in our African system, and you cannot penetrate. My father himself was a chartered accountant. When he passed away, I had to go to Cameroon to take over his business. Oh my God, did I run through red tapes? I'm not someone that can speak French like that. I was forced to go to Yaoundé and buy one of these things that I could try and interpret. I had to hire somebody, fortunately I had siblings, that could communicate in both languages fluently. It was so difficult for me to establish. Until today, I'm not fully established. So that's the corruption part of it. We want to go back, but how do we do that? Also, I support free trade, but if our currencies are still tied to the European, whether it's France or it's Euro, whatever, we cannot move our currency freely. And free trade involves this movement of currency freely. If we cannot do that because it's tied down to something, how are we going to do this? Free trade will bring about healthy competition. Healthy competition brings
Reverend, can you please cut your question short?
Perfection, it brings about perfection in our goods and services, which is a wonderful idea. I'm all in support of that. But the problem is the roadblocks that we may encounter in trying to achieve this. So that's, I'll just stop right there because I could go on.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency?
Let me say this. Sis, your point is very well taken, and you're quite right. Who are the people who are giving you the challenges? It's your brothers and sisters back on the continent. I heard a story of what's happening in Nigeria. I'm told it has gotten better. That if you wanted to get a contract as a Nigerian in Nigeria, they were now having these white people, homeless white people, they would dust them up and give them a three-piece suit. And you just have a white man sitting next to you as you're negotiating a contract. You have a better chance of getting that contract than if you went by yourself. Your own brother and sister is going to discriminate against you. It goes back to the disease that I spoke about to begin with. We are still suffering from the legacy of colonization. We are still suffering from the shackles of the mind. It is your own brother who is doing that. So you're quite right. We must re-educate ourselves. Let's start with the colonial textbooks. You are quite right. We should not be having colonial textbooks in our schools. It's about time we rewrite our history. It's about time the hunted tell their story. And so wherein lies the problem? Why is it 60 years since independence in most African countries, we are still using colonial textbooks? It goes back to the disease. A minister of health can make that decision that I'm going to rewrite the textbook. And he commissions even the university to rewrite the textbooks, and it's done. But if the minister believes in what he's reading, how is he going to change? Tell me why the judges in Africa still wear those stupid white wigs. I mean, they were just some dumb things that we continue. They look ridiculous, you know? But there are things that come from colonial days that we still do. And it's people like me and you, my sister. So that's why we have to wake up. When you are an awoken judge, you walk in one day and then, Mr. President, I'm not wearing this stupid thing. It's 100 degrees in Africa and I'm supposed to sit in court all day with this stupid wig, you know? But I could go on of the dumb things that we are doing, and we are not correcting Africa. We are not speaking up for Africa because we are still asleep. We need to wake up. Once we wake up, guess what? I am going to say the contract goes to my brother first. It'll only go to the Chinese if I cannot find my brother. But the problem in Africa is, oh no, we'd sooner work with a white person than with a black person. Would sooner work with the Chinese than my fellow brother. That is the problem. And so let's call a spade a spade. We are still asleep and we need to wake up. Those that you're going to run into when you go home, who are giving you the roadblocks, they are still asleep and they are suffering from the legacy of slavery and colonization. Why would they choose to give a contract to a white man? A white man comes through that door, oh, all the rules will melt away. They're willing to jump through hoops to help a white man. They're willing to jump through hoops to help a Chinese. How sick is that? How sick is that? A Chinaman will never jump through hoops for you. A white man will never jump through hoops for you. And yet you can't see it within yourself to say, I can't do that. Well, I mean, it is mind-boggling when you see the things that we do. I often say to my white friends, sometimes I wish I could be a fly on the wall when these white people are talking about how dumb we black people are. We do dumb things and they know it. Yes. And they get away with it. And we allow it. Wow. So at the end of the day, it's up to us. Until we wake up, nothing is going to change.
Fantastic. Thank you so very much, Your Excellency. Ladies and gentlemen, this was Her Excellency Dr. Arikana Chihombori Quao, the founder and president of the African Diaspora Development Institute, which is your institute for you to join and become a member of. And before I close out, let me bring in Reverend Pam to give us some closing remarks as the chairman of the Africa Online Media Corporation. Reverend Pam, please.
Yes, you still called me chairman. I'm going to deal with you. You're in business. But I want a serious note. I want to especially thank my beautiful and brainy and smart, strong sister, once more, Her Excellency, Dr. Arikana Chihombori Quao. I love you, you know that. I don't need to say it, but you know it. I honestly want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, and we are definitely going to continue to work together to reclaim our heritage and to drive all those thieves out of our motherland. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. I would like to give you some time to just give us your closing remarks. I know you have another engagement at the top of the hour, but we seriously appreciate it. I'm going to be sharing the book on our Facebook page. We have more than 3,200 followers, and there's so many people watching on Facebook. Over to you, Your Excellency.
Thank you again for watching. And I want my young son, who spoke from Cameroon, I want you to know that I feel your pain. I really do feel your pain. And I want you also to know that we're doing what we're doing because of you. We know this Africa of ours is messed up, and we're gonna work together with your energy and your intelligence, together with our wisdom. I know we can come together to make Africa a better place. You are not alone. We feel your pain. I want you to know that we are with you. Let's walk this journey together. To the rest of our listeners, this is our information. We're absolutely with you. And if you ever want to talk, have the Reverend Fomunung give you my number, because I owe it to you to understand. And so you never hesitate to call me and say, Mama, I'm confused about this. And you know your mama will give you an answer, okay? I owe it to you. You are our youth and we are responsible to you. And your pain is real. Your pain is real. I want you to know that. So for the rest of the viewers, thank you all for listening. Let's join hands. Let's remember that what puts us together, what joins us is our blackness. What joins us is our blackness. And so let's come together and speak with one voice. Let's go to ouraddi.org. Let's all sign up. When we have close to 1 million signatures, we can begin to go to the heads of states and say, before you give a contract to the Chinese, to the Europeans, your children from the diaspora are saying, we are ready to come home and we will take those contracts. And the ones that will go to the Chinese and the Europeans are the ones that are going to be the ones we cannot fulfill. But until we come together and have a significant number that can truly fill these contracts, we are not yet in a position to complain about anything or any contracts going to Chinese and the Europeans, because those are the two options they have. We have to stand up and be present. And I can assure you, an organized African diaspora, we will get the contracts and we will build the Africa that we want.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Niasong, are you on?
Yes, please.
Please close us out. Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much. Your Excellency, it's been a great pleasure. African Media Corporation is very thankful for honoring our invitation. We will always turn back to you if we hit the rock on the way, and we appreciate everything and we appreciate everyone who has been on this program today. And Your Excellency, please, you can count on us. We will do our best to work together so that together we can raise that awareness in Africa and be able to bring Africa together so that we change the thinking that we have had so far and be able to approach the future with better hope, with better plans, and with better confidence. That being said, please, thank you all very much. Your Excellency, have a great time, and we know that we will always turn to you. So please, ladies and gentlemen, have a great week. And don't forget, our next topic will be coming up tomorrow night. We'll launch it tomorrow night, and that is going to be modern day slavery of the African, and any person that is Black is still facing slavery all over the world, all over the continent and everywhere else. Thank you all so very much, and please, may the blessings from above pour on all of us and guide us to live better lives, healthy lives, and be safe from COVID-19. Thank you all.
Thank you.